friends, in this video we are going to read about Gupta Empire. Friends, this is a very important topic for all the competitive exams. Let us begin with a brief introduction about Gupta period. So Gupta period was from 319 AD to 540 AD. And in 4th century AD, a new dynasty, the Guptas, arose in Magad and established a large kingdom over the greater part of northern India. So friends, remember that Gupta rule was in northern India, not in southern India. So remember this small point which will help you score good in exams. So they established a large kingdom over the greater part of northern India, though their empire was not as large as that of Mauryas. That means Maurya's empire was larger than Gupta's. Their rule lasted for more than 200 years. And this period is referred to as the classical age or golden age of ancient India and was perhaps the most prosperous era in Indian history. So friends, Gupta period is also known as classical age or golden age of ancient India. Remember this point. Our first question, who was the founder of the Gupta dynasty? So the founder was Gupta, also known as Shri Gupta. Next question, what title Gupta or Shri Gupta used? Answer, Maharaja. Next question, who succeeded Gupta? Answer, Gupta was succeeded by his son Ghatotkacha. Note, who also inherited the title of Maharaja. So Ghatotkacha inherited the title of Maharaja, which his father also used. Next question, what was the time period of Chandragupta I? And the answer is, his time period was from 319 AD to 334 AD. Next question, who was the first Gupta ruler to assume the title of Maharaja Dhiraj? Answer, Chandragupta I. Next question, who strengthened the Gupta kingdom by matrimonial alliance with the powerful family of Licchavis who were the rulers of Mithila? So there was a powerful family of Licchavis. They were rulers of Mithila, and Chandragupta I strengthened the Gupta kingdom by matrimonial alliance with this powerful Licchavi family. Note, Chandragupta I married to Licchavi princess Kumar Devi. So this marriage brought to him enormous power, resources and prestige. He took advantage of the situation and occupied the whole fertile Gangetic valley. Next question, who started the Gupta era? In 319 to 20 AD. Answer, Chandragupta I. Friends, whenever in the question it is asked that who is the founder of Gupta period or Gupta dynasty, always take Shri Gupta. And when it is asked that who started Gupta era, so the answer will always be Chandragupta I. So please clear this confusion. And let's move further. Next question is, by what name were gold coins known in the Gupta period? Answer is dinaras. Next, which ruler issued the original type of gold coins in Gupta period? That was dinaras, and the answer is Chandragupta I Kumar Devi type. Next question, what is the time period of Samudragupta? Answer, 335 to 380 AD. Here now we are reading about Samudragupta, son and successor of Chandragupta I. Next question, the most detailed and authentic record of Samudragupta reign is preserved in, answer is Prayag-Prashti, which is in Allahabad pillar inscription. So this Prayag-Prashti written in Allahabad pillar inscription gives us detailed and authentic record of Samudragupta reign. Next question, who composed Prayag-Prashti's Allahabad pillar inscription? Answer, Samudragupta's court poet Harisena. Harisena was a court poet of Samudragupta who composed Prayag-Prashti. Prashti means friend, which was written in the praise of a king. King was praised in that. All the good things about the king was written on that. Note, according to Prayag-Prashti, he was a great conqueror. He here refers to Samudragupta. Another note, in the Gangetic Valley and central India, Samudragupta annexed the territories of the defeated monarchs. But in South India, he remained content with victories alone and did not annex the territories of the vanquished rulers. That means in northern India, he not only defeated monarchs, but he also integrated their territory within his empire. And in South India, he just defeated the monarchs but did not annex their territories. Next question. Who is known as Napoleon of India? Answer. Samudragupta. Next question. Who calls Samudragupta the Napoleon of India? So V.A. Smith, he called Samudragupta the Napoleon of India. Note, the reference to his dominion over Java, Sumatra and Malay Islands in the sea shows that he had a navy. So Samudragupta had a navy. Another point. When he died, his mighty empire bordered that of the Kushan of Western Province. Kushan of Western Province was in modern Afghanistan and Pakistan, and Vakatakas in Deccan, which was in modern southern Maharashtra. So his empire included all these territories. Next question. What was the greatest achievement of Samudragupta? Answer. His greatest achievement was the political unification of most of India, or Aryabharta, into a formidable power. Next question. Samudragupta was a follower of, answer, Vaishnavite. So he was not a follower of Buddhism or Jainism. Please remember that he was a follower of Vaishnavite. Friends, these all questions are very, very, very important. Please learn them, revise them again and again, and you will surely be able to attend all Gupta questions correctly. And you can score really good marks in your all exams. Now we are going to read about some titles in the Gupta period. So first title was Kaviraj, and it was given to Samudragupta. Kaviraj means, friends, king of poets. Source, that means from where we got to know about this. So it is mentioned in pre+mains. We just now read that pre+mains give us most detailed and authentic record of Samudragupta's reign, composed by his court poet Harisena. Next title here is Param Bhagwat. It was given to both Samudragupta and Chandragupta II. Its source is Nalanda copper plate. Another title, Ashwamedh Parakram. It was given to Samudragupta. It means whose might was demonstrated by the horse sacrifice. Its source is coin. Next, Vikram. It was also given to both Samudragupta and Chandragupta II. It means prowess. Prowess means, friends, who has great skill. Its source is coin. And the last title here is Sarvaraj Uchchetra. It was given to Samudragupta. It means uprooter of all kings. Its source is coin. Now we will read about types of coins. There were many types of coins, like Garud type, Dhanurdhari, that is arch type, X type, Ashwamedh type, Vyagra Hanan, that is tiger killing type, Veena Vadan, that is lute playing type. You can see the image and try to visualize it. Note, according to Chinese writer Wang Huan-se, Meghvarna, who was king of Sri Lanka, sent an embassy to Samudragupta for his permission to build a monastery for Buddhist pilgrims at Bodh Gaya. So King Meghvarna of Sri Lanka, he sent an embassy to Samudragupta, and he was asking for permission to build a monastery for Buddhist pilgrims at Bodh Gaya. With this, we have come to the end of Samudragupta's period, and now we will start about another Gupta ruler who is known as Chandragupta II. Let's study about Chandragupta II. First question. What was the time period of Chandragupta II? Chandragupta II was also known as Vikramaditya. Vikramaditya was the title he used. So the answer is his reign was from 380 AD to 414 AD. Next question. According to Devi Chandragupta, also known as Vishakaditya, Samudragupta was succeeded by, answer, Ramgupta. So after Samudragupta, there was reign of Ramgupta. Next question. Which Gupta ruler succeeded in killing the Saka ruler? Answer is Chandragupta II. So Chandragupta II killed Saka ruler. Next question. What was the reason for issuing silver coins by Chandragupta II? He issued silver coins in the memory of victory over Sakas. He defeated Sakas, and to commemorate that, he issued silver coins. Remember this. Next question. Who was the first Gupta ruler to issue silver coins? Answer. Chandragupta II. Next question. Sarkari title was adopted by Sakari title was adopted by answer Chandragupta II. Next, which place have been made the second capital by Chandragupta II? Answer Ujjain. There is one note, and it's written that Mahrauli iron pillar inscription, which is near Qutub Minar, Delhi, says that King, that means Chandragupta II, defeated the confederacy of Vangas and Vahilkas. Vahilkas, also known as Bulk. Next, we will try to learn about 9 Ratna, that is 9 gems of Chandragupta II court through this diagram. So, Kalidas, Amar Sin, Dhanavantri, Vrahmihir, Varuchi, Ghatkarna, Kashparnak, Vilabhat, and Shanku. These all people were known as 9 gems of Chandragupta II. And also, they were contemporaries. Let's read it once again. Kalidas, Amar Sin, Dhanavantri, Vrahmihir, Virauchi, Ghatkarna, Kashparank, Bilabhat, and Shanku. Next, name the work of Kalidas. Kalidas was a great poet friend. So his works are Ritu Samhar, Meghdutam, Kumar Sambhavam, Raghu Vamshama, drama known as Malvikagnamitra, Vikram Urvashiyam, and Abhijan Shakuntalam. Next question. Who wrote Amar Sin Kosh? Answer Amar Sin. Next. Who wrote the Navanitakam medicine text? Answer Dhanavantri. Next. Panch Siddhanta, Vrihat Samhita, Vrihad Jatak, and Laghu Jatak are the works of Vartika. A comment on Ashtadhyayi was the work of answer Bararuchi. Next. Which Chinese pilgrim came to India during the time of Chandragupta II? Answer Sahyan. Next question. What were the titles achieved by Chandragupta II? Answer Devgupta, Devraja, Devshri, Param Bhagwat, Narendra Chand, Sindh Vikram, etc. So these were the titles achieved by Chandragupta. Next question. What type of gold coins, dinaras, issued by Chandragupta II? Answer Ashwavarohi type, Chhatradhari type, and Chakravikram type, etc. Next we are going to read about Kumar Gupta, successor of Chandragupta II. He was also his son. First question. Chandragupta II was succeeded by answer his son Kumar Gupta I. What was the time period of Kumar Gupta I? Answer 415 to 445 AD. That means Kumar Gupta I reigned from 415 to 445 AD. Note. Towards the end of his reign, that is Kumar Gupta I reign, the Gupta Empire was threatened from the north by the Huns, who were temporarily checked by his son Skand Gupta. So during his reign, Kumar Gupta I reign, Gupta Empire was threatened from the north by the Huns, and the Huns were temporarily checked by his son Skand Gupta. Next, Kumar Gupta was the worshipper of answer god Kartikeya. So he worshipped Kartikeya god. Next, who founded Nalanda Mahavihara? Answer Kumar Gupta. And Nalanda Vihara was a great center of learning in ancient India. Next, what were the titles achieved by Kumar Gupta? Answer. His titles were Mahendraditya, Mahendra Sin, and Ashwamedh Mahendra. Next, what type of gold coins, dinars, issued by Kumar Gupta? Answer. So the types were Khatgrahi type, Gajrohi type, Gajrohi Sin Nihanta type, Khang Nihanta, that is rhinoceros slayer type, Kartikeya type, and Apratig Mudra type. Next, what was the time period of Skand Gupta? So now we are reading about the last great ruler of Gupta dynasty known as Skand Gupta. So reign of Skand Gupta was from 455 to 467 AD. He was the last great ruler of the Gupta dynasty. Another note, during Skand Gupta reign, the Gupta Empire was invaded by Huns. He succeeded in defeating the Huns. And success in repelling the Huns seems to have been celebrated by the assumption of the title Vikramaditya. In the bracket, Vitali pillar inscription. So from the Vitali pillar inscription, we knew about the victory of Skandagupta, and he assumed the title Vikramaditya. But the continuous attacks of the Huns weakened the empire and adversely affected its economy. The gold coinage of Skandagupta bears testimony to this. The decline of the empire began soon after his death. Next question. What were the titles achieved by Skandagupta? Answer. Vikramaditya and Kramaditya, Parambhagwat, Sharkarupama. It is written in Khahom pillar inscription. So Parambhagwat, Sharkarupama, we know about this title from this Khahom pillar inscription. Next, Devraja, Arya Manjushri, Mullakalp, etc. were his titles. Now we'll read about Gupta inscriptions. Rulers, inscription and their character. First ruler, Samudragupta. His inscriptions are found in Prayag or Allahabad, stone pillar, Iran stone pillar. Iran stone pillar is in Madhya Pradesh, Nalanda copper plate. So the Prayag Allahabad stone inscription and Iran stone pillar is in the form of prasti. And Nalanda copper plate is a royal charter. Next ruler, Chandragupta II. His inscription, Mehrauli iron pillar, and it's also a prasasti. Next, Skandagupta. His inscriptions are Junagar rock, Bhitari pillar, Indore stone pillar. And Junagar rock and Bhitari pillar, these both are prasti, and Indore stone pillar is a royal charter, evidence of sub-infiltration. Next, Buddhagupta. His inscription, Paharpur copper plate, and its character that is it is a royal charter, evidence of state ownership of land we find in that. Now let's see questions related to Gupta administration. And the question here is, explain the Gupta administration. Answer. The Gupta administration was highly decentralized, and as a patrimonial bureaucracy reached its logical conclusion. In hereditary grants, it reflected the quasi-federal character of the economy, and it comprised a network of self-governing tribes and tributary kings, and the chiefs often served as representatives of imperial powers. So friends, Gupta administration was not a centralized administration as it had been under the Mauryas. It was highly decentralized. Patrimonial bureaucracy was there, hereditary grants. It reflected the quasi-feudal character of the economy. It comprised a network of self-governing tribes and tributary kingdoms, and their chiefs often served as representative of imperial powers. The Gupta king took exalted titles like the Mahadhiraj, Samrat, Ekadhiraj, Chakravartin, befitting their large empire and imperial status. Practice of appointing the crown prince, that is Kumara, came in vogue. The Gupta kings were assisted by a council of ministers known as Mantri Parishad. Or next question. In which inscription the existence of the Gupta council is implied? Answer. Prayag or Allahabad pillar inscription. So friends, Prayag or Allahabad pillar inscription speaks of the delight of the Sabha. Sabhas were the members of the council at the selection of Samudragupta for throne. So Gupta council existed, and it is mentioned in Prayag or Allahabad pillar inscription. Next question. Who were the Kumar Matya and Sandhi Vigharika? Answer. Both Kumar Matya and Sandhi Vigharika were among the high officers in Gupta time. Next question. The office of Sandhi Vigharika first appears under answer Samudragupta. Note. The Kumar Matyas formed the chief cadre for recruiting high officials under the Guptas. So it was from them. So from Kumar Matyas only, among them only, the Mantris, Senapatis, Mahadanda Nikaya, who were Minister of Justice, and Sandhi Vigharika, who were Minister for Peace and War, were generally chosen. So all the high officials were chosen from among the Kumar Matyas. Now let's read about important officials and the meaning. First, Mahapratihari. It means the chief usher of the royal palace. Usher is a person who take or show somebody where to go. So Mahapratihari was the chief usher of the royal palace. Next, Dandapashika. Dandapashika was chief officer of police department. Vinay Asthitisthapak means chief officer of religious affairs. So Vinay Asthitisthapak were the chief officer or was the chief officer of religious affairs. Next, Mahapilupati. Mahapilupati was the chief of elephant corps. Next, Mahashvapati. Mahashvapati was the chief of cavalry. Now we'll read about administrative unit of the Gupta period and their head. First one, Bhukti, also known as Bhoga. It means province. So Bhukti and Bhoga head was Uparika. So Bhukti and Bhoga head was called Uparika or Bhogpati. It's easy to remember, means like administrative unit Bhoga. So its head was Bhogpati. Next, Vishya. Vishya means district. So Vishya head was Vishpati, also known as Ayukta. Vishpati you'll remember very easy, but you need to remember Ayukta because sometimes in the questions they ask about Vishya's head and they'll not give you Vishpati in the option. Instead, they'll give you Ayukta in the option. So remember Ayukta. Next unit, Vithika, also known as Nagar. In English, it means city. So Vithika or Nagar head was Nagarpati or Purapala. Here also remember Purapala because Nagarpati they'll never give in the option. Most probably they'll give Purapala in the option. So Vithika head or Nagara head was Purapala. Next, Gram, that is village, its head was Gramika. This you can remember easily. Next question. Name the important bhuktis. We already read that bhukti means province of Gupta period. So important bhuktis were Magda, Bradhaman, Pundravardhana, Tir Bhukti, which was in northern Bihar, Eastern Malwa, Western Malwa, and Saurashtra. Saurashtra was in Gujarat. Next, the term Pora in Gupta period used for answer council. Next, the administration of the city was in the hands of council, also known as Pora. Here we can see that the administration of the city was in the hands of, this is the question, and the answer is the administration of the city was in the hands of council, also known as Pora, and Pora, which consisted of the president of the city corporation, the city representative of the guild of merchants, a representative of the artisans, and the chief accountant. So Pora consisted of president of the city corporation, chief representative of the guild of merchants, a representative of the artisans, and the chief accountant. Now there's one fact, and it's written that whereas under the Mauryas, the city committee was appointed by the Maurya government, under the Gupta, it was composed of the local representatives. Next question. Decentralization of the administrative authority began during answer Gupta period. Note, it was also during the Gupta rule that the village headman became more important than before. Next question. What Gupta military organization was by character? So, answer, it was feudal by character, though the emperor had a large standing army. So remember that Gupta military organization was feudal by character. An emperor also had a large standing army. Next is also a very important question. In the Gupta period, which two laws were clearly defined and demarcated for the first time? Answer, civil and criminal law. So it was only in the Gupta period when these two laws, that is civil and criminal law, were clearly defined and demarcated. Next question. Gupta kings depended primarily on answer land revenue, varying from 1/4 to 1/6 of the produce. Next question. What was the Sena Bhakta tax in the Gupta period? In Gupta period, the army was to be fed by the people whenever passed through the countryside. This tax was called Sena Bhakta. From the term Sena Bhakta also, you can understand its meaning. Sena and Bhakta. As you know, Sena means soldiers or army, and Bhakta means a kind of text here. So you can also remember text by the name Sena Bhakta itself. Next question. What was the Vishti and its purpose in the Gupta period? Answer. The villagers were subjected to forced labor called Vishti for serving the royal army and officials. So Vishti was a forced labor. Next, what kind of an excess land grants the Gupta period experienced? Answer. Agrahara grants and Devgrahara grants. Note, land grants included the transfer of royal rights over salt and mines, which were under the royal monopoly during the Maurya period. Next question. Explain the society of Gupta period. Answer. During Gupta period, the Varna system begins to get modified owing to the proliferation of caste. So because of the caste proliferation, Varna system begins to get modified. What it actually was, it was not that now. It begins to get modified. Next, the position of women deteriorated further. Polygamy was common. Polygamy, that is having more than one wife at the same time. Early marriages were advocated, and often pre-puberty marriages took place. First example of sati appears in Gupta period. Read carefully all these small points, as questions will be framed out of these points only. Next, women were denied any right to property except for stridhan in the form of jewelry and garments. Next and last point. Under the patronage of Gupta ruler, Vaishnavism became very popular. So Gupta popularized Vaishnavism. Next, what were the chief factors of the Varna system that began to get modified owing to the proliferation of castes in the Gupta period? Answer. This was chiefly due to three factors. A large number of foreigners had been assimilated into the Indian society, primarily, and were known as Kshatriyas. So what happened? Foreigners also came and they got assimilated into the Indian society and started calling them as Kshatriyas. Next point. There were a large absorption of tribal people into Brahmanical society through land grants, and the acculturated tribes were absorbed into the Shudra Varna. Third point. Guilds of craftsmen were often transformed into castes as a result of the decline of trade and urban centers and the localized character of crafts. Next, what was the social position of Shudras in the Gupta period? Answer. The social position of Shudras seems to have improved in this period. They were permitted to listen to the epics and Puranas and also worship a new god called Krishna. Next, who was Katyayana? Answer. Katyayana. He was a Smriti writer of the Gupta period. Next, Asprasya is the term used by Katyayana for the first time to denote, answer, untouchability. Katyayan used the term Asprasya for untouchables. Next, in which inscription the first example of sati appears? Answer, Bhanugupta's Iran inscription, 510 AD, which is in Madhya Pradesh. Next, which two cults evolved during the Gupta period? Answer, Vajrayanism and Buddhist tantric cults. So, Vajrayanism and Buddhist tantric cults evolved during Gupta period. Note, idol worship became a common feature of Hinduism from the Gupta period onwards. Next, which king of Gupta Empire is related to Bahadur copper plate? Answer, Buddhagupta. Now we are reading about economy of Gupta period. The first question is, which king of Gupta Empire is related to Bahadur copper plate? Answer, Buddhagupta. Next, where is Bahadur copper plate is situated? Answer, Bangladesh. Next, the most decisive argument in favor of the exclusive state ownership of land in Gupta period is found in, answer, Bahadur copper plate inscription of Buddhagupta. So in Gupta period, next is a table, and and it contains name of land and its uses. So first is Kshetra Bhumi. So Kshetra Bhumi was used as cultivable land. Next, Kila. Kila was a wasteland. Next, Vastu Bhumi. Vastu Bhumi was habitable land. Charak Bhumi. Charagah Bhumi. Charagah Bhumi was used as pasture land. Next, Aprahata Bhumi. Aprahata Bhumi was used as forest land. Next, which king of the Gupta Empire is related to Puna plate inscription? Answer, Prabhavati Gupta. Next, name the officer who maintained records of all land transactions in the district. Answer, Pustapala. Pustapala maintained records of all land transactions in the district. Note, in the Gupta period, land survey is evident from the Puna plates of Prabhavati Gupta and many other inscriptions. So land survey used to be conducted during Gupta period, and its evidence is Prabhati Gupta Puna plate inscription. Now let's learn some important fact. First point, the Guptas issued the largest number of gold coins in ancient India, but in gold content, that is purity. Gupta coins were not as pure as Kushanas. So please clear your confusion. Guptas were the one who issued largest number of gold coins, not the Kushanas. But in terms of purity of that gold coin, Kushanas were. Next point, the Guptas also issued a good number of silver coins for local exchange. So silver coin was also there just for local exchange. Next point, Gupta copper coin are very few as compared to those of Kushanas, which show that use of money did not touch common people. That means during the reign of Kushanas, use of money touched common people. Next point, the Gupta period witnessed decline in long distance trade. Next, trade with Roman Empire declined after the 3rd century AD. Next, Indian merchants began to rely more heavily on the Southeast Asian trade. Now let's learn about port of the Gupta period. The port of the east coast were Tamralipti, which was in Bengal, Ghantashala in Andhra Pradesh, and Kandura. So East Coast Port handled the North Indian trade with Southeast Asia, and those of the West Coast Port that were Bharuch, Chaul, Kalyan, and Cambay traded with the Mediterranean and West Asia. See in the map and try to remember it. Next chart is about texts of Gupta period. First, Bhaga. Bhaga was king's customary share of the produce, normally amounting to 1/6 of the produce, paid by all cultivators. So during the Gupta period, Bhaga was 1/6 of the produce. Remember this. Next, Bhoga. Bhoga was periodic supplies of fruits, firewood, flowers, etc., which the villagers had to furnish to kings. Next, Bali. Originally, it was a voluntary offering by the people to the king, but later it became compulsory. During the Gupta period, it seems to be an additional and oppressive tax. So Bali was first a voluntary offering, but later it was made compulsory, and during the Gupta period, it also became an additional and oppressive tax. Next, Uparika. Uparika was an extra tax levied on all subjects. Next, explain in brief the architecture of the Gupta period. Answer. The architecture of the Gupta period may be divided into 3 categories. First, rock-cut caves like Ajanta and Ellora group, which is in Maharashtra, and Bagh, which is in MP. Next, structural temples and stupas. Next question. What are the names of temples which were constructed during the Gupta period? Answer. The Svartana temple of Devgarh, which is in Jhansi district, UP. The Svartana temple is the oldest and the best. Next, Shiva temple of Bhumra, which is in Nagaur, MP. Vishnu and Kankali temple, which is in Tigwa, MP. Parvati temple of Nanchana, Kutwa, which is in Panna district, MP. Shiva temple of Kho, which is in Satna, Panna, which is in MP. Krishna brick temple of Bhitargaon, which is in UP. Lakshman temple of Sirpur in MP. Vishnu temple and Varah temple of Iran. Iran is in MP. Next, what were the names of stupa which were constructed during the Gupta period? Answer, Mirpur Khas, which was in Sindh, Dhamek in Sarnath, and Ratnagiri, which was in Orissa. Next question. Manusmriti. Manusmriti was translated into English under the title of, answer, Institutes of Hindu Law. Next, Manusmriti was translated into English by, answer, William Jones. Next, Abhijan Shakuntalam was translated into English by, answer, William Jones. Next, who is known as the Shakespeare of India? Answer, Kalidas. Brahma Siddhant was translated into English under the title of Sindh Hind. So Brahma Siddhant was translated into English under the title of Sindh Hind. Note, Mritchakatika, that is the clay cart, love story of a poor Brahmin, Charudatta, and virtuous courtesan Vasant Sena, is notable for its realistic depiction of city life. Next point, Kam Sutra is the earliest book on sex. Now let's read about some interesting facts. The art of architecture attained great heights during Gupta time. Next point, by evolving the Nagara style, also known as Sikar style, the Gupta art ushers in the history of Indian architecture. Next point, Sikra Shreen, which is a Vaishnava symbol, one of the most characteristic feature of temple architecture, found its fullest development during this period. The temple architecture, with its Garbhagriha, that is shrine room, in which the image of the god was placed, began with the Guptas. So it was during the Gupta rule only that Garbhagriha began to be constructed. The fragmented remains of Dasvarta temple of Devgarh is the example of the most ornate and beautifully composed Gupta temple building. Next, the center of the Gandhara sculptures declined and their places were taken by Banaras, Patliputra and Mathura. So Banaras, Patliputra and Mathura were important centers during the Gupta period. Next, for the first time, we get images of Vishnu, Shiva and other gods. We also read about it above that during the Gupta period only, idol worship started. Amongst the best specimen of the images of Gupta is a seated Buddha image of Sarnath, which depicts the Buddha preaching the Dhamma. Next point. Of the Brahmanical images, perhaps the most impressive was the great boar, Baraha, carved in relief at the entrance of cave at Udaygiri. The paintings of this period are found in Bagh, which is in MP, and Ajanta, which is in Maharashtra. The frescoes of the Ajanta caves are the masterpiece of the paintings of this age. Now let's learn about religious literature of Gupta period. A. Hindu text. Some of old religious books, namely Vayu Puran, Vishnu Puran, Matsya Puran, Ramayana and Mahabharat, Manusmriti, were rewritten during this time. Narad Samriti, Prashar Samriti, Brihaspati Samriti and Katyayana Samriti were written in this period. B. Buddhist texts. Abhidhamma Kosha. So the author of Abhidhamma Kosha was Dignaya, a Buddhist scholar. Next, Vasudhimaga. It was written by Buddha Ghosh. C. Jain texts. Jain text was Nyayvartam. Its author was Siddhasena. There were also secular literature during the Gupta period. Ritu Samhar, first poetry. Meghadutam, Kumar Sambhavam, Raghuvansam, Malvikagnimitra, first drama. Vikram Urvashiyam, Abhijan Shakuntalam. These all books were written by Kalidas. Next book, Mudradaksha, were written by Vishakadatta, Kiratarjuniya by Bharvi, Kavyadarsa Das Kumar Charita by Dandil, Mritchakatika by Shudraka, Panchtantra by Vishnu Sharma, Kam Sutra by Vatsyayan. Now let's read about scientific literature of Gupta period. So Aryabhattinam Surya Siddhanta was written by Aryabhatta. Brahma Siddhant by Brahmagupta. Panch Siddhanta, Vrihat Samhita, Vrihat Jataka, and Laghu Jataka by Brahmihir. Ashtanga Hardya, Medicine by Vagbhatta. Navantikam by Dhanvantri. Mahavashkarya, Laghu Bhashkarya by Vashkara. Hastayayurdeva by Palkapaya. So friends, with this we have come to an end. I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching.